Hello, welcome to this candidate debate sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Marin County. I'm Margie Eller, the League of Women Voters, and also with us is Suki Sennett as timekeeper. The candidates today who are with us today are running for a 4-year term for 3 seats on the Larkspur Corte Madera School District Board. The candidates with us today are Nadine Aarsheim, Jennifer Bernabei, Susan Christman, Daniel Durkin, Andrea Pierpont, and Maya Tuve. Now, the candidates will have been invited to make opening statements of 1.5 minutes. That's 90 seconds. And we're going to begin with Nadine.
Hi, I'm Nadine Aarsheim, and I'm asking for your vote for school board trustee. I'm an estate planning attorney and a small business owner. My office is in Corte Madera, and I live in Larkspur with my family. We've been there for 10 years. I have a 1st grader at Neil Cummins and a 5th grader at Hall. I've served in a variety of volunteer positions in our schools over the past 5 years for the Neil Cummins PTA, for Spark, and for the past 3.5 years I've been on the Neil Cummins Site Council. I'm proud to be a member of our school community, and I continue to be amazed by the dedication and talent of our administration and teaching staff, and by the generosity and commitment of our parent community to making our schools great places of learning for our kids. If elected to the board, I'll dedicate myself to proactively reaching out to our parent and teacher community so that we can mine the wealth of human resources that we have in our community. I also want to work with my fellow board members to improve the transparency of the board's decision-making process so that the community can appreciate and understand all the thoughtful analyses that happen behind the scenes when the board makes decisions in the best interest of our kids. With those goals in mind, I want to help the board rethink the way that it approaches communication. If we're going to ask our kids to be 21st century learners, the board needs to set the example and engage in 21st century communication. There's so many wonderful tools out there now for us to get in touch with one another. I want to help the board capitalize on these tools so that it can serve as a bridge and enable us all to work together to support the excellent education that we offer to our kids in the Twin Cities. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jennifer?
Thank you to the Marin County League of Women Voters for hosting today's event. My name is Jennifer, commonly known as Jen Bernabei, and I have been a Twin Cities resident for 19 years. I have 2 boys who attended Neil Cummins and Hall Middle School. I'm a licensed insurance agent, currently working part-time in San Francisco. I am an informed, engaged, and active community member who has volunteered within the Larkspur Corte Madera School District for over 9 years. I have served on both the Hall and Neil Cummins PTA and on the Facilities Planning Committee for the Larkspur Corte Madera School District. I am committed to keeping our district fiscally responsible and solvent, and hold an MBA from the University of California, Irvine to help me in that endeavor. I am hoping that our district will continue to attract and retain creative, enthusiastic, and talented teachers. We need to keep our children safe and offer engaging, challenging, and rewarding educational experiences for our children. I would like to see the board foster and encourage a culture that rewards and recognizes the ideas and talents of our constituents. In addition, we need to provide clear, candid, and timely communication.
Thank you. Susan?
Good morning. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum. It's such a great communication tool, as has just been mentioned, for our community. My name is Susan Christman. As I mentioned, I currently serve on the Larkspur Corte Madera School Board and have held that position for the past 2.5 years. When I ran unopposed 2 years ago, our school district was in a very different place than it is today. We were in the midst of shrinking school budgets, explosive growth of our student population due to our past successes, and the obvious need to expand our school facilities. Those things don't go very well together, more kids and less money. Despite the difficulties, I took on the board position and seeing it as a real opportunity to give back to the community and make a real positive change and lasting meaning, make a difference in my community. As a trustee, I have had to roll up my sleeves and make many key, difficult decisions on managing our enrollment growth with reduced funding while remaining fiscally conservative, and all the while keeping a laser focus on what we are here for, which is delivering a great education to each one of our kids. Today, the atmosphere is somewhat more upbeat and promising as we are at the confluence of new funding, new Common Core curriculum, and new facilities within which to deliver a fantastic educational model. Much has been accomplished in the past 2 years while I have served. However, there's much more work to be done. The path is clear and there's so much to be done, and I hope to serve on the board again. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel?
My name is Daniel Durkin. I am the primary caregiver, the stay-at-home parent for my family living in Corte, Madera. This is a role I fulfilled for my family for over 9 years, starting when my daughter was 3 months old. My wife is a professor of rheumatology at UCSF, and we have 2 daughters. Alessandra is now in the 5th grade at Hall Middle School, and Daniela is in the 3rd grade at Neil Cummins Elementary. Prior to having children, I was an engineering physicist at Stanford University and a staff scientist at the University of California at Berkeley. I have a PhD in physics from UC Berkeley and a BA in physics from the Johns Hopkins University. I have a love of nature, and I enjoy sharing this passion with children. At Neil Cummins, many children know me as Dr. Dan. I actively volunteer in the classrooms, creating and designing science and math activities that excite the children and enrich their education. I especially enjoy taking the children out of the classroom into nature for nature walks around campus, and I collaborate with the Fairlawns Marine Sanctuary to directly introduce children to marine life. Some children in Larkspur and Corte Madera also know me as Coach Dan. I have coached my daughter's softball and soccer teams. I serve on the Mariner Cove Neighborhood Association's board as the school liaison. I am actively engaged in the school community, working to improve the school experience for all children and their families.
Thank you. Andrea?
Hi, I'm Andrea Pierpont, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for arranging this event. I've been a resident of Corte Madera for 14 years. My husband and I have 2 daughters, ages 11 and 13, who have been attending the public schools in the district since kindergarten and are now at Hall Middle School. Over the years, I've found ways to be involved with the schools through parent work in the classroom, a variety of roles on the Neil Cummins and Hall PTA boards, and in 2011, I volunteered to be the campaign chair for the Measure A General Obligation Bond, a facilities bond to relieve the overcrowding in our schools. I'm proud to say the bond passed, and we've broken ground and are building a new elementary school scheduled to open in 2014. Thank you to all of us in the community for passing that measure. Looking ahead, our district will be experiencing dynamic changes and transitions. In addition to opening a new school, we are adapting the nationwide Common Core standards, exploring collaborative teaching practices, looking at how we use technology in instruction, as well as how to integrate arts in instruction. And our teachers need time for professional development. We continue to have growth in student enrollment with a changing funding formula that affects our budget. This is a hefty list of important elements to our district. I'm excited and believe in the direction our district is headed. I want to be a part of a productive, thoughtful, collaborative, action-oriented board that can provide strong leadership to the district and communicate well with our community through these dynamic years ahead. It would be my honor to serve on the school board.
Thank you. Maya?
Hi, I'm Maya Tuve, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. I'm a mother of 2 young children who will attend all 3 schools in our district. Anders, who's 5, and Ava, who's 7, are proud Neil Cummins Hawks. Next year, they'll attend the Cove School, and several years after that, Hall Middle School. I am committed to ensuring excellence for all 3 of our schools. I believe my professional experience and my dedication to the community would be valuable to the school board. I have 20 years working experience working at notable architecture firms in San Francisco and Boston. As a project manager and a design lead, I've worked on numerous award-winning projects, including a university library and a science museum. Since moving to Corte Madera, I've put my leadership skills to work, serving as a parent representative on the facilities design team and acting as school liaison for the Mariner Cove Neighborhood Association. I participated in the district's strategic planning session, and I'm active in our schools, volunteering in the classrooms and as headroom parent at Neil Cummins. I feel so proud to be part of the Larkspur and Corte Madera school community. I especially value how our schools connect friends, families, and neighborhoods. As we move from a 2-school to a 3-school district, it's vital that we make sure our community remains connected. I believe the school board can play a central role in that. I'm really proud of the progress our district is making, and as a trustee, I will work hard to stay on this positive course.
Great. Now the candidates they're going to be answering questions, and they're going to have 1 minute, 60 seconds to respond, and we're going to start with Jennifer. Jen, how will the Common Core standards affect curriculum delivery in the district, and do you anticipate positive or negative change?
I think the Common Core state standards are going to be a positive change for the district. I believe that what some of the concerns around STAR testing is that it's easy to teach to the test. And if we get to the core and we have standards that are laid out for our teachers to reference and to work towards, then we can accomplish not only working towards those standards within each grade, but working for standards between grades, and being able to add more language arts and ways of getting children to think critically and analytically will be great for our district and other schools as well. Thank you.
Susan?
So the Common Core is positive change for the California education system, which is, we haven't seen curriculum change in over 15 years. Our education is finally now moving to the forefront of ingenuity and progress and incorporating creativity while staying grounded in the fundamentals. What's been great about our school district is that we've been preparing, and we are well positioned to evolve as the Common Core curriculum is adapted into our current curriculum. We have been the beneficiaries of a very generous grant, the Visual Art and Performing Arts grant, that has really put to the forefront within our district incorporating project-based learning, incorporating the arts into the curriculum, which is a lot of what the Common Core curriculum will do. We have our administration has really dedicated themselves to providing professional development to our teachers, but that will be our challenge going forward, is adapting to the changes that are coming.
Daniel?
Well, I think the Common Core standards are a great opportunity for our schools. It's a great move forward for our educational system, not just in the state of California, but in the country as well. It's a shift to going deeper into the education materials and not be as shallow. The previous state standards were described as trying to cram 100 pounds of flour into a 10-pound bag. And so this is a great opportunity to go deeper with the children. For instance, in language arts, it's no longer just an English class. It now extends to social studies and science as well. Students are encouraged not just to read fiction stories, but nonfiction materials as well. And I think this does fit nicely with the district's move to project-based learning, where projects such as going on an insect hunt, finding insects, becomes more than just a science project. It becomes now you take that back, you draw the insects, you see what you have, and then you can write about the insects as well. So it extends all through all fields.
Andrea?
I also agree with everyone. I think that the Common Core standards and the shift to this is a positive thing for our school district. I understand that it will take some time to integrate this and to shift our curriculum appropriately. I know the assessment process will be different, and I believe from the reading I've done that this will allow teachers to find individual needs with each student and teach them at a deeper level in the areas that they may be deficient. So I believe this is a positive impact.
Maya?
I also agree that it's a positive impact, but it will take some time to get there and see those results. Initially, it's probably going to be very difficult, and the new assessments will take time and adjustments. The test scores may shift downwards. As we work through this transition, I think it's important that teachers especially need our support. Looking at the big picture, This is absolutely positive for our students and one that is expected to better prepare them to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, and problem identifiers. I'm so proud of the work our district administrators and teachers are already doing towards this shift, and even for our youngest students with regard to project-based learning. My daughter's first grade class studied the rainforest last year, and with the rainforest as a theme, her teachers integrated art, science, music, technology, social studies, reading, and writing. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a math lesson in there too. All in all, eventually, I believe it's going to be a good thing.
Nadine?
I also agree that the Common Core is an exciting opportunity for our schools. It is going to allow us to reach deeper into each subject area, and also to encourages us to use different modalities of learning so that each child can access the curriculum in a way that works best for them. I also agree with Maya that as we go through this transition, we need to remember that our focus should always be on the student-teacher relationship, because that's where all the magic happens in the classroom. So as we expand the different modalities that we use, and Neil Cummins and Hall will still do a great job even now in bringing art, music, dance, different ways for students to express themselves as they're learning lessons. We still have to remember that we need to access those modalities in a way that works for each teacher's individual teaching style. I'm also excited about the Common Core in that it will encourage, at the middle school level, when the kids are split out into different classes for the different subjects, they'll be able to always work into their plans accessing English curriculum even in those different subjects. So it's very exciting.
Okay, the next question will start with Susan. And the question is, please comment on the teacher, administration, parent, students, and school board relationships and interaction. Is communication an issue?
I think communication has always been, and I came into the board with the intention to do whatever could be done with respect to communication, and we've really stepped up our outreach via Facebook, Twitter. Our district website is now broad and very accessible to our parent community. Our communications between our administrators and our staff is constant, and the staff has provided opportunities to share their ideas with the administration. I think we're at this forefront of communication and technology really bursting open, and I think there's always room to grow and to continue on our path to really reach out. I think it's very important that we hear from our constituents, not only our parent community, but the greater Twin Cities community, and to really keep our relationship strong with each one of those groups.
Daniel?
Yes, I think communication is a challenge in the school district, and a challenge in modern society. There's so many avenues with which to communicate with people nowadays, and to find that one source or a couple sources. I think one of the weaknesses with the school district, one of the challenges, is to clearly promote a vision, communicate that vision, and to get people excited about that vision. And I think that's been one of the challenges. We saw that when we had this wonderful moment in our community when Measure A was passed to relieve overcrowding because our schools were squeezed. Our children we had increasing enrollment. And I think we stumbled a bit afterwards, but I'm hopeful because it seems like we're riding that direction and heading in a good direction now.
Andrea?
Well, I'm a strong believer in good communication. I believe, especially through my experience with the bond campaign, that was an important part of a big process of making a decision to open in a school, and then all the steps thereafter. And I felt specifically with the campaign that I learned that communicating to the community, that messaging is very important, that we be very clear and transparent in our intent. And I would just carry that forward with the board. If I were to serve on the board, I would just make that one of the things that becomes a priority, that we communicate well to not only our district and the parents and the teachers and students, but also to our community.
Maya?
Like the other candidates here, I also agree that transparency and communication are vital to a good and well-run school district. It's important that so many people know what is happening and what's the vision, what's the direction that the district would like to take the students and teachers and community in. And it's important that they bring all of the stakeholders in on the process. This includes the parent community, the students, teachers, and as well our community at large, businesses, agencies, and PTA and Spark. Without clear communication, it's impossible to build trust, and you need that trust to move a district forward in a positive way.
Nadine?
Improving communication between the board and our community is one of the pillars of my platform. And I think I have an ability to boil down complicated issues into key elements that are easily digestible and accessible by teachers and parents. You know, teachers and parents are busy, and it's not their job to sift through websites or to look for original sources. That's the board's job, to communicate that information in a way that parents and teachers can access. So it's more than just putting it out there, it's making sure that we're putting it out there in a way that people can access. As a lawyer, a big part of my job in my practice is to take complicated legal concepts and to turn it into forms that my clients can apply easily to their own situations. So I want to make sure that as a board, we can do that, and I think that I can help my fellow board members communicate more effectively with the community, parents, teachers, and the community at large.
Jen?
Thank you. I think that the board has done a good job of bringing in constituents from the community, whether they be parents, teachers, community members who don't have children in the school. But I would like and welcome greater input involvement from these constituents. Presently, it feels as though a number of the decisions and creativity emanate from the board and our superintendent. And while this is desirable at times, it can also be limiting. Committees are formed and led through a process that does not always correlate to what is implemented. This disconnect leaves participants feeling frustrated and confused. For example, on Measure A, as exciting as it is to have that passed, I believe that voters should have known exactly what the outcomes of that measure would be, and it would have been nice to have had actual drawings of our schools before people went to the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, the next question, we'll start with Daniel. What will the impact of the state's new local control funding formula, LCFF, be on the district, and what are the issues relating to shifting from a community-funded basic aid district to this new formula?
Sure. Well, I appreciate that the Marin County Office of Education held a couple of very valuable workshops for the candidates, and one of the subjects was the funding of our schools, the financing of our schools. And my understanding of the LCFF is that this is, first of all, being phased in over time, and so we're seeing a gradual phase in next year. There will be some challenges with funding when funds are available because of the phase in, but from my knowledge of which was presented at the workshop, it looks like this will be beneficial to the community once the lag time has been addressed and once the funds are available. This will be a good formula for Larkspur Corte Madera School District.
Andrea?
Playing off of what Dan's saying, which is information that I also understand and believe, from the information I've read so far, the funding formula will not be a setback for our district, at least that's the understanding. We will not be in a worse situation, and I believe that our biggest challenge actually is that Becky White, who's our business manager in our district, is retiring. So one of our big next moves would, as a board, as a district, would be to find somebody as incredible and capable as Becky, and keeping an eye on the changes that are coming with the new formula.
Maya?
I agree with Dan and Andrea here. Yes, we're switching to a new state funding model. It will be a local controlled funding formula, or LCFF, and this is primarily based on our average daily attendance. So if we keep that attendance up, we should be in good shape. As this will take about 7 to 8 years to roll out, the full implication is not entirely known, but it is anticipated that there will be some stabilization. So that's a good thing. As well, I think our district will greatly miss Becky White, and that is going to be a new challenge, as Andrea mentioned. She's done a wonderful job overseeing the budget, and we look forward to what those next steps will be to replace her.
Nadine?
I agree that when we switch to the local control funding formula, it'll be a net positive for our district. I was also at the Board of Education presentations, as Dan was, and we learned a lot about it. My takeaway was I was at a budget study session with the superintendent and some of the board members, and I was actually the only parent there. And Becky White gave a great presentation, but I found it really hard to follow, being someone who doesn't follow all of the school budget planning. And I think when Becky retires, we've been relying on her a lot to take care of things and decipher the complicated educational funding formulas for us. And this might be a great opportunity when we bring someone new on board to revamp our communication process about the budget, so that parents, teachers, and community members can really get involved in understanding where our money comes from and where it goes. So I look at this as actually a net positive change. It comes with a lot of opportunity.
Jen?
Well, I have to say, if the name has anything to do with the impact on the district, I'm hoping local control funding formula does mean that it will benefit our community. And as brought up by some of the other candidates, I do feel that whoever is in the budgeting and finance position, it's not just budgeting, but I think today we have to look at the position of managing our budgets, whether or not we need to create reserves, and how we can really best finance the needs of the districts. Our district is extremely important. And I believe that making this information clear and readable to a layman will be important in helping parents understand how the board makes decisions. Thank you.
Susan?
Yes, the local control funding formula is somewhat overdue. It really is going to address how to reach those kids who are the most in need of resources funneled their way. It will most benefit the kids who are on free and reduced lunches and English language learners. And we've seen such a vacuum in not providing to those kids. When fully implemented, it will provide real maximum flexibility to us as a board at the local level, which is ideal. We've been waffled between basic aid and revenue limit. It's been a challenge for the business officers and the board. And the good news is that we now have a set, determined source for our funding, and that we no longer have to prepare for the unknown with respect to how much and where the money will be coming from.
Okay, next question, Andrea will start. Please comment on the impact of the changing demographic in Larkspur, Corte Madera, and other districts in Marin.
Well, from what I heard recently, the demographic work that was done to support some of the decision making to go out for a bond, open a new school, I believe we're already at maybe some of the 2017 projections this year. We're ahead of where they thought we would be. So the growth continues in our district. I'm thrilled that we are at the place we are, where we're opening another school. We can relieve the overcrowding. I do think this poses challenges, though, in that and with these budget changes we were just talking about, that we will need to keep a keen eye on class size, and I can't speak to the other districts, quite honestly, because I don't know what their growth is, but I do know that we are in a major growth phase here.
Maya?
Agreed. This year, there are 9 kindergarten classes at Neil Cummins, so this continues to be a problem, the growth, and due to the district's great success, more students are anticipated to come to our district. I would like to see us address these larger class size. Right now, the kindergarten classes are up to 24 students per class, which is, I believe, on the high side, and it would be great to look at what happens at the Cove School and the implementation of that and the build out to hope that that relieves some of this overcrowding. I believe my skills in the field of architecture and balancing budgets and looking ahead with space planning and user groups, that my skills would be a great asset as we face these possible construction projects in the future.
Nadine?
Well, our changing demographics in terms of our exploding student population is definitely going to be a challenge for us going into the future. Even though we're opening the new Cove School on the east side next year, which is a great positive thing, when we finish, as soon as we open that school, we're going to be in the exact same position in terms of number of classrooms as we are right now. So the kids who are now at portables and in unimproved classrooms at Neil Cummins will get to move to new classrooms at the Cove, and that's great, except for if we take away the portables, we'll have no extra room. Another thing that I think is very concerning about our changing demographics is that we have identifiable subgroups at Neil Cummins that have been identified by the state, and when you have enough kids in these subgroups that are underperforming, the state starts to monitor you, and Neil Cummins has been in program improvement for the past 3 years. This is very concerning. We are going through a demographic shift as is in the whole county, and we just have to make sure that we do the best we can for those kids.
Jen?
Enrollment is being impacted by growing kindergarten classes as they matriculate through the district. In addition, existing construction projects in Corte Madera and Larkspur are predicted to add about 90 students to our schools. And I have to say that the changes that I've seen on the Neil Cummins campus look wonderful. The campus looks better than ever. However, adding the shared spaces between the classrooms was not part of the Measure A communication. Parents want to know if there will be enough money to move the 5th grade back to the grade school campuses and if smaller classrooms are obtainable, since these were stated objectives for Measure A.
Susan?
Our district is now more closely reflecting what we're seeing in the state and the country with respect to changing demographics. We, as a district, need to plan for that. The local control funding formula responds to that with respect to how we are funded. And so we are going to have to make strides towards responding to it. It's not just numbers. We've seen the numbers continue, and Andrea is right. We are now at 2017 school population. So what we've done is that the district has a 2-bond plan. It's a clear plan that was set out before the first bond was passed. We have conservatively adopted a bond plan that was fiscally conservative and the most responsible to our community, and we will have to roll our sleeves back up and ask for a second bond that then can build out, complete the new school, complete Neil Cummins, and move the 5th grades back to the elementary schools.
Daniel?
I think as far as changing demographics goes, there are 2 issues here. One is the increasing population, the increasing enrollment in our schools, and the second is the changing population in our schools. And the first has been addressed as far as our enrollment's up over 5% this year, and I think that's true throughout Marin County. The building projects for Measure A was passed because we were squeezed, we needed more space, and that should be the priority. That is the priority. So I think, yes, it's a 2-phase plan. We do need the Cove Elementary opened, and we need more classrooms at Neil Cummins. I think, unfortunately, during the design phase where we included these classrooms within classrooms, we actually lost 2 classrooms at Neil Cummins, and as a result, our 2nd grade class sizes are now up to 25 and 26 students. The second issue is the changing population, the changing backgrounds of the children, and there it's a matter of professional development for the teachers to reach the English as a second language learners and the special needs children as well.
Okay, next question. Maya will start. How will learning and teaching change in the next decade? How might those changes affect the role of the Board of Trustees?
Great question. That's what this is all about, and the switch to Common Core curriculum, is teaching for that 21st century world and providing an education that will match it. Getting our kids prepared to go to college and work in this global world of technology. I think teachers will become facilitators and help guide children through the process of learning as they develop their critical thinking skills. Let's see. I'm sorry, I forgot the rest of your question.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. How's it going to affect the role of the Board of
How will the
Trustees?
board? Well, this will be an important part of the role's responsibilities to help provide support for the teachers as their role changes in their support of our students.
Okay, Nadine?
I think as we move forward with expanding the different types of teaching modalities that we use in our district, that's really exciting, and I'm very excited about project-based learning and arts integration and things like that. But studies show that time and again, the factors that are most strongly correlated with student success aren't teaching trends or classroom environments, but the student-teacher relationship and parental involvement. And the board can help us stay focused on those relationships. So remember, curriculum changes over the years and teaching methodologies come and go. But curriculum doesn't teach kids and teaching methodologies don't teach kids. Teachers teach kids. And the pillars of strong and successful student-teacher relationship remain the same. It's always the ability of the teacher to connect with the kids, the ability to set goals, give consistent feedback. Those are the things that we really need to be supporting in our schools, and the board should be leading the way on that. In addition, students who have parents at home who support what's going on to the classroom increase their children's chance of success. So the success of our students is dependent on our support of our wonderful parents and teaching staff, and we should never take them for granted, and the board should lead the way.
Jen?
I'm in agreement with some of the things that Nadine talks about with respect to the core relationship between teachers and their students is probably the key factor in a child developing and reaching their full potential. And there are certainly modalities that help that learning process, technology being one. And while we can't stop technology, it's here to stay. I have a firsthand experience with children using iPads in their high school today, and you can see that it can be a distraction if they're not taught how to use it. But it offers things like flipped classrooms, which one of my sons is having an experience today. So I think there is a place for it, but I think it has to be tempered with recognizing that it's what takes place in the classroom, that hands-on learning, and also parents, encouraging their children and valuing education in the home.
Susan?
So technology is here and ramping up. I had the pleasure of sitting in on the Cove School Culture and Program Committee meeting recently, which brought in professionals from Edutopia, George Lucas's foundation, from Apple and Education, from the Buck Institute, and from the Bay Area Discovery Museum. Resources are flooding in for our school and being tapped by our administrators and our teachers to help them adapt to the new Common Core, as well as to adapt to this technology explosion that's happening. What I'd like to see, it's not a revolution, but we need to evolve. Technology is one of the many tools that our teachers can use, but not the only one. And I think I see it as being an opportunity for the teachers to become learning leaders. As Jen mentioned, we actually have a flipped classroom at our school led by James Fester, who's just done a fantastic job with that.
Daniel?
Sure, I think technology does offer a great opportunity as a learning tool, a teaching tool. There's a danger that it could be abused, and I don't want it to come at the sacrifice of the real world experience. And from my experience going into the classrooms at Neil Cummins, I've seen instances where technology hasn't worked very well, where second graders are asked to type out poems on iPads as opposed to writing them freehand and getting those fine motor skills that they need at that age. I've seen kindergartners using iPod touches to work on their letters when working with chalk or crayon would have been much more beneficial. But technology does offer a great tool. For instance, in Yale Commons right now, we have large screen televisions, which will be synced through Apple TV. And from my experience, when I've gone into the classroom, I've carried my presentations on my phone and synced it to the projectors that we had in the past. And now it's going to be much easier to sync it to the TVs. And that's a tool. It's a teaching tool where I can use those presentations to do a project with the children and show them movies and pictures.
Andrea?
Well, this is a big question because we can't see into the future. But technology is here. I'm wrestling it with it in my own home. I use it for myself. I'm learning at the same rate my kids are learning how to use it in their lives. So I feel that I'm going to kind of flip the question, but how it affects the board or how I would approach this sitting on the board is I just have to be open-minded and rely on many resources outside of just our district to share with us where our technology is going, but also ways to teach in this 21st century, because it's very different from the way we sat in classrooms as when I was a kid. So I also really firmly believe that we're going to need to give teachers room to develop professionally. I think this is a very hard time for them because they're needing to reinvent and reinvigorate and think in different ways, and that's what teachers do well. And also, we'd like to see our kids learn collaboration and query-based learning. So there's a lot on our plate.
Thank you. Okay, next question Nadine's going to start. Are the K through 8 schools preparing the 8th graders sufficiently for high school, and what connections are there with the high schools?
Are you talking about how right now what happens, or what do we want to have happen?
Both, whichever way you want to address it.
I think we're doing a great job of preparing our middle school students for high school, and it helps us in our district in particular because Redwood High School is a hop, skip, and a jump away from Hall. And as I understand it, there is a lot of crossover that goes on between the schools. We have to be careful. I know that this year we eliminated an advanced placement or accelerated math program in the 8th grade. And we have to make sure that we're providing an appropriate education for each child in our community, whether they need extra services to be delivered to them in a way that's different from the other kids, or whether they need additional services that go beyond and above the standard curriculum. So there's a tough balance that we have to strike in middle school. I think Hall's been doing a great job up until now, and I think in the future it's going to become even more important for our middle school kids to be able to go back and forth, and perhaps we'll have some 7th or 8th graders who are accessing curriculum at Redwood, and maybe vice versa.
Jen?
Well, you ask an interesting question because I think it is important to not only look at what other schools are doing at the elementary and middle school, because that's what our district encompasses, but it's helpful to look at the pre-K and the high school side to see what is being developed and utilized there. And Hall has been able to produce students who can choose any high school they want in the Bay Area, and that bodes well for the school. But unless we continue to develop Hall, and one of the things that was done recently, and it's something I promoted when my children were in the district, is to add that 7th period for Hall so that we can get richer, deeper electives for our kids, whether it be in language, technology, and so I'm hoping that will develop over time. And I feel as a board that it's incumbent upon us to keep our eyes in doing some of the cores well, because those don't go away, but to add to those so that students can develop what their internal interests are.
Susan?
Are Hall Middle School students prepared for high school? I think I can sit comfortably in my chair to say yes, they are. I have a son who's a junior at Redwood High School and a daughter who's in 8th grade, and I'm so proud of the teachers they've had that have provided them those tools. Within the district, we have a working group where teachers at the high school speak directly to our staff and administrators at the middle school, where if there are areas where there's maybe some trends where we're seeing that our kids are falling off in certain math subjects or English subjects, that there is this very close relationship between our district and the high school district. There have been some changes, as Nadine mentioned, to the math curriculum. It is a countywide change that we've all, that has been made in anticipation of really giving a stronger foundation to these kids in math. We're seeing math, kids' achievement in math drop off, and this is an attempt to really give them that strong foundation. So I'm proud of our middle school and
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Yeah, I think as mentioned earlier by some of the previous candidates, the shift with the Common Core standards now is designed to better prepare students for high school. I know at Hall Middle School there's a change in the math curriculum, shifting geometry, and with the purpose of getting them better prepared for high school. I look at the question more broadly of are our schools preparing our children to be citizens, adults into the future beyond high school. And as I was getting dressed this morning, putting on my tie, I was listening to the Smiths and Morrissey saying, "Nature is a language, can you read?" And it really resonated with me at that moment, because that's what I want our children to get from school, from the K-8 experience, where they can appreciate nature around them and the greater world around them, and that includes interacting with their peers. And I think this is where the benefit of our school system, where we do have small group learning, we have project-based learning. Our schools do exist in a wonderful area full of natural resources where they can walk out the door and have a pond there to collect plankton and see insects, and so there's great opportunity. So yes, I think we do a very good job.
Andrea.
I agree. I think we're doing a great job. I can only say this anecdotally. I'm watching my girls go through this experience, and I think that they're probably my best bellwether on whether things are going well. I believe there is a connection with Redwood being so close, number one, but also I'm even seeing where our parents who have been very involved in our middle school are looking to take roles in the high school, at least Redwood, or on the school board and participating in the school in different ways and supporting it. And I love this bridge, and I think that's really important, is to keep Hall and Redwood not disconnected, but to find ways to make sure that we are preparing our kids for what's expected in the high school, public high school.
Maya?
I agree with Andrea. It is important that we foster connectivity between the high schools in our district and Hall Middle School, so that that school environment is approachable for these young children entering it. I also believe that it's important that we provide educational opportunities that give our students, that meet our students' needs where they are, and encourage support of their interests and their abilities. This will build a confidence in students to allow them to mature and move forward in a positive way into high school. I also, as Dan mentioned, think that the Common Core curriculum and that shift, and our shift to project-based learning and inquiry-based learning, are also really well preparing our students for the next steps.
Okay, we have time for one more question. I'm going to squeeze in a real difficult one, so try to answer really quickly, okay? And we'll start with Jen. What about further school district consolidation? How do you feel about that? In 30 seconds.
Further school district consolidation. I think as a taxpayer, the idea of consolidation makes sense when you're looking at fiscal issues at our state level. And yet you recognize that the school districts within Marin County have their own personalities, some of them wealthier than others, some in a greater need to combine or not. So I think we have to be mindful that there's a lot of latitude here, and that it certainly should be something that is looked at closely, and then through collaboration and finding common goals, there might be opportunities to make that happen.
Susan?
So I got my first taste of school district consolidation when I began doing some public policy work around reducing pesticide use at our schools, finding out that we have 19 school districts in a very small county. It's quite a challenge to try and do one policy to 19 school districts. But what I've also found from the inside, being on the inside now, is the beauty of it is that we have control and the voices are louder when there's less of them, and so we have a very nice small community to manage. Our school district won a Golden Bell Award for the collaborative practices that are happening. We have shared services in technology with our superintendent at 2 different districts, and we continue to find ways that we can reduce our costs, consolidate the things that happen one way across the board, and share those tools and techniques with the other school districts, and it's really paying off. So we're finding ways to get around this 19 different school districts and to be more fiscally responsible.
Daniel?
Yes, my family moved to Corte Madera from San Francisco, where Alessandra was there for kindergarten. And I grew up in Maryland and went to school, public schools in the Baltimore County school system. So when we moved to Corte Madera, I was surprised. We have 1 elementary school and 1 middle school, and that's our school district. Yes, I think it's what makes Marin unique. There are some advantages, but I think what is great is that these small school districts have come together and pooled their resources. So for instance, with purchasing agreements, with teacher professional development, and I think now, hopefully, with the Common Core curriculum development, which is going to be a big pressure on the school district, finding resources, finding textbooks, materials, or if it's not textbooks, apps, whatever it is of the future. So I think there's great opportunity there.
Andrea?
Okay, I have to be honest, I haven't thought about this. Only because it's such a great question, and I'm thinking back to my corporate life where we were constantly either becoming localized or trying to be regionalized. And all I can say is I would actually bring that type of lens to a discussion about district consolidation. I would just have to look at it fresh and learn about it and listen to people on the board. So I think it's a fascinating question, is my answer.
Maya?
As Susan mentioned, we have so many districts in Marin, and I think it's important that we consolidate where we can in an effort to be efficient and effective. If we can encourage sharing services, resources, learning opportunities for teachers, and as well as sharing technology, I think that would be a great benefit.
Super, thank you. So a couple of dates. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. Go ahead, Nadine. I'm sorry.
Dan actually and I attended a County Board of Education presentation given by our superintendent, Valerie Pitts, and other committee members. They've been on a consolidation and shared services committee for the past 2 years and done a lot of work looking at this issue. What I got out of it is the long and short of it is when it makes sense, it makes sense. And it is something you have to look, it has to be a fact-driven decision that you look at on a case-by-case basis. But there's a lot of good work, obviously, that's already been done, and I look forward to hearing more about it in the future so we can do what makes the most sense for our district.
Thank you all for talking fast. Okay, I'm going to run real quickly through the dates. Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th. Last day to register, October 22nd, or re-register if you've moved. Requests for absentee ballots must be received by the Elections Department by October 28th, 1 week before the election, and early voting starts October 7th. If you go to our website, smartvoter.org, you will find information by entering your street address and zip code. You'll be able to find information that's going to be on your ballot about all the different candidates and the races that are going on in Marin, and you'll also find lots of information on the League's website. So now the candidates will be able to make closing statements of 1 minute, 60 seconds. We're going to go in reverse order, and we'll start with Maya.
Great. My kids will be in this district through the year 2021. I am committed to excellence in publication in our excellence in public education in our district through this decade and beyond. As a professional, I'm used to balancing the needs of many stakeholders, clients, user groups, engineers, builders, and different communities, while managing plans and meeting budgets. My experience and my community involvement make me a great candidate for the role of trustee. If elected, I'll come to the table informed, open-minded, and ready to listen and collaborate. An effective board needs to work well together and get things done. That's what the students, the teachers, and families of Larkspur and Corte Madera deserve. I plan on continuing the great success the district has made. Please vote for me on November 5th.
Andrea?
Okay, well, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for holding this forum. And it's encouraging to see so many people show up and want to do this role. So I think that's fantastic. And also, I've enjoyed listening to everyone's views because this is the first I've heard them. It's important we all stay informed. I think that's the message also. If elected to the school board, I'll bring my past experiences to the work I'm asked to perform. I'll be prepared, I'll actively listen, I'll distill a great deal of information, and I'll be accessible and communicative to the best of my ability. My family is supportive of my interest in doing this, and to me that's a really big deal, and I'm thankful for their encouragement. But most importantly, I want to model for my children that you can step out of your comfort zone, take chances, and work hard at what you believe in, and when you do that, you often find that you can make a great difference. Thank you.
Daniel?
I thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum today. I believe that the schools, the public schools, Neil Cummins Elementary, Hall Middle, and soon the Cove Elementary, are integral to the foundation of our community. If elected, I will actively maintain and develop this foundation. I will contribute my experience from working in the classrooms of Neil Cummins and in the classrooms of schools in Berkeley, Oakland, and San Francisco. I will also contribute the perspective this experience engenders. I will approach challenges with a scientist's curiosity and persistence. I will actively ask questions, seek answers, and find solutions. I am a proactive member of the learning community, working to improve the school experience for all children and their families. I believe I would be a valued school board trustee for our community. Thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. As a 20-year resident of Larkspur, I have worked tirelessly within the school district and outside in the greater Twin Cities communities. And I really have a vision of and experience with how our school district is so intimately woven into the Twin Cities community. It's important that we maintain not only within our community the communication skills from parent to classroom to student to administrator, but also from the outside looking in, that our school district is responsive to the needs of our city, our non-parent community, and the businesses in our district, which have been so supportive of a very positive education system we've been able to produce. I have a proven track record for working with the Twin Cities community, and I would be proud to continue my service on the board. I bring the core values of honesty, integrity, and straightforwardness that I hope to continue to bring to the board. Thank you.
Jen?
I offer a number of things from having worked with children. I don't know how many people know that I student taught in the Tiburon School District for 2 years prior to my current role in the insurance industry. I was on the Discovery Council for the Bay Area Discovery Museum, and I've helped teach preschool at my local church, Bay Marin in San Rafael. And a variety of these experiences have given me the opportunity to know and understand children. And I feel that I'm qualified for this position based on my educational experience as well as my involvement with kids. As a board member, I would want to encourage more committees with greater input and influence on decisions so that members feel empowered to create the change they desire. A great example of this is Spark, which is one of our district's most successful assets. When I started in the district, parents raised approximately $250,000 a year. They now raise over $1 million. The ability to brand themselves, adapt to changing needs, and provide district resources through strong parent participation is really a great role model for us. I hope you'll vote for me in November. Thank you.
Nadine?
You've heard a lot of great ideas from the candidates today, and I want to thank my fellow candidates for being here with me. And I also want to thank the Marin County League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum for us. The best path forward is always that of compromise and consensus, but we can't reach compromise and consensus with respect to the very complicated issues we face as a district unless we can hear from the well-informed and passionate diversity of opinion that we have in our community. As a trustee, I'll work to ensure that all of our stakeholders feel valued and included in the decision-making process. In addition, I'll work tirelessly to ensure that the board's decisions are based on clearly articulated and detailed visions of our priorities and goals, and that the factual analyses the board engages in are clearly communicated. Look, everyone here has the same goal. We want to maintain and improve upon the excellent quality education that we provide to our kids here in the Twin Cities. If elected, I'll work to build bridges so that we can work together to do just that. Thank you.
And a special thanks to the Community Media Center of Marin for helping us host these events. Thank you to the candidates, did a great job, and to our timekeeper, Suki Sennett, and to you, the audience, for watching. Thank you.